his career and is still the all-time leader in goals scored at Swarthmore. That he accomplished all of this with his father, Avery Sr., as head coach, surely made his achievements even more special. Avery is a member of the National Lacrosse Hall of Fame, and I am honored to be able to introduce him tonight. From the class of 1953, Avery Blake Jr.
I guess anybody who stands up here, could say that their mother was responsible for them being here. My mother was responsible for my being here, very, very directly. If she were still with us, she'd be glad to tell you why. When I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in Annapolis, my mother was asked by the Baltimore Sun reporter, how come it is, Mabel, that a little school like Swarthmore, probably the smallest college playing lacrosse, has 2 people in the Hall of Fame? And she said, well, really, it was all my doing. I had a little luck to help me. But first thing that happened is my husband, Avery Sr., married me, and he was lucky then, because I helped raise 3 younger brothers, and I was able to tell him everything he needed to know to coach young men. He became a Hall of Fame coach. And she said then, my son was very lucky, because he was born to a father who was a Hall of Fame coach. And the coach was very, very lucky, because he was lucky to have a son who happened to be big and fast. And that's all there was to it. It was all her fault. I thank you for the opportunity to be here. I really appreciate it. It's so nice. Thank you.
Two things we know about Charles Chevalier. He liked to write and throw the football, and he did both well. Arguably the best quarterback in the history of the program, Charles rewrote the record books during his time here. See that hit? Right there. Charles set career records for passing yards, completions, and touchdowns. In 1992, he led the Centennial Conference in passing and total offense, earning Offensive Player of the Year awards. The rest of the country took notice as well, as Charles was selected as an All-American. One look at the Centennial Conference record book shows his accomplishments have stood the test of time, as Charles is still listed in no fewer than 9 statistical categories. Today, Charles throws the book at people as an attorney in New Jersey. From the class of 1993, Charles Chevalier. Yeah.
Particularly like to thank President Chuck, because I knew without her, this probably wouldn't have occurred. It's truly an honor. Particularly, I'd just like to point out Tiny Maxwell. Following my senior year, I was actually honored to win a Maxwell Award for Small College Player of the Year. I went to the Maxwell Club, which now is president by Ron Jaworski, and was given the award. So it's an honor to actually be admitted into the same Hall of Fame class as Tommy Maxwell. I've been honored to have received the award named after him. What's particularly, I'd like to thank the teammates, because obviously without them, this wouldn't be possible. What's really an honor is many of them have actually showed up and probably be here for the unveiling. Even teammates who have flown up from Florida. So when it's cliche when people say, it can't happen without teammates, but this truly is a team honor. Being on a team here, especially playing football, typically you look across the sideline and you'll see somewhere between 70 to 100 players. I remember one particular occurrence, we're playing Gettysburg College, and they had 109 players on the roster. We were there with 34. We won the game. So just having a close-knit group of guys, bright guys who understand. And what was interesting is my sophomore year, we got a new coach who came down from Amherst. And we basically were trying to put in, it's called it wasn't called a spread offense, but what the spread offense to be today, if you think of Tim Tebow in his days at Florida, it was very similar. But he wanted to go kind of a no huddle, and his idea was, well, we call the play at the line of scrimmage. If we say a land down, well, there'll be a run play. If we say some kind of bird, there'll be a pass play. And I looked at him, I go, we are in the Centennial Conference. I think it'll take about one series before the defense picks up on it. So my suggestion was, why don't we use dorm rooms as running plays and the academic buildings as the pass plays? And that process, I know it stuck for years after until Coach Mirren, who I think may be here tonight, but I'd also obviously like to thank him, but until he stayed, and that was the process that I was in. So academic dorms, running, academic, passing. Trick plays, we're in special buildings around here. But again, thank you very much. I'm really honored, and again, congratulations to the rest of you. Thank you.
Let's make no mistake. Gwyneth Jones Cody is one of the elite athletes of her era. A two-sport athlete in field hockey and lacrosse, Gwyneth had the good fortune of playing under fellow inductee Pete Hess in both sports. One only has to look at the lacrosse record book to see the impact that Gwyneth had. She's the all-time leader in points and assists. She's 4th all-time in goals scored, 2nd highest in single-season points, and she holds 4 of the 5 top spots for single-season assists. She's a former All-American, and her 55 assists in her senior year set an NCAA record. On the hockey field, Gwyneth's impressive efforts earned her 2 nods to the Division III All-Region team during her career. She continues to share her knowledge of the game today as coach of her daughter's team. From the class of 1984, Gwyneth Jones Cody.
I am very proud to be inducted at the same time as my former coach, Pete Hess, who did so much to advance the cause of women's sports. I was here on campus in April for her memorial service. It was great to see former teammates and coaches from that era. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some of my teammates who really helped me reach these goals. I was very lucky. Not only did I arrive on campus in the fall of 1980 when the Phillies won the World Series, but I arrived with a bunch of other great student athletes. In particular, I want to mention Nan Weinstock Forte, who did a great job as our center on the lacrosse team. We had this play that we did at the beginning of every single game that we played. She was the center, incredibly strong. As soon as the ref would blow the whistle, I'd pull back off the circle and she would pull the draw over my opponent's head, and I'm pretty tall. I'd put my stick up, get the ball, run downfield, score in the first 8 seconds, or at least try to. We did this play every time, so we'd be up 1-0 within 8 seconds of the game starting. And the other great player was Donna Marcus Honey Cronin, who really was a great field hockey player and a great lacrosse player. She is one of my best friends today. She and I secretly harbor the fact that we want one of her 7 children to marry one of my 2 children. They don't know that plan yet. That would be great. They certainly know now. But I learned a lot of things while I was here at Swarthmore. I certainly learned that it was acceptable, and even beyond that, it was awesome to be excelling in the classroom as well as on the athletic field. But I also learned what it was like to be a child of very supportive parents who really modeled for me great behavior on what it means if you show great support and passion for your daughter or your son in their particular interests. My parents, Tom and Vera Jones, my dad is class of 53, my mom is class of 58. The Swarthmore Quaker Matchbox worked for them. I did not marry a Swarthmore guy. They came to every single one of my lacrosse games. Both of them had full-time jobs. I grew up in Princeton, so they had to drive a fair distance to get here. And while Pete was my coach, it was my father's voice that I heard on the sideline. He was the one who told me to cut for the ball, go to goal, double team, whatever it was that was going on. So I want to thank them for that, and I hope that I am modeling that kind of behavior with my own children, Jack and Cynthia, who are with me tonight. So thank you again, Mom and Dad, for everything, and thank you to the college.